Zak Moradi, thank you for joining me on the Modern Warrior podcast. It's an honor to have you here. And what a journey you've been on in your own life. You've come a long way. I'm sure physically, but also emotionally, having gone through the battles of your past to be in this peaceful place in your life at the moment. And you're also the author of the book Life Begins in Leitrim. However, there was a life before Leitrim. Can you bring us back to what life was like before you moved to Leitrim at the age of 11?
Yeah, life was obviously completely different. If you're trying to compare Iraq to Ireland, it's two different worlds. But obviously we have to go back. Well, I was born in a refugee camp in Iraq, in Ramadi, so it was a completely, we'd call it, I say it was an open prison. When you look at it now, when you look back at old footages and memories, that's what it was like. And obviously trying to compare a refugee camp to probably the rest of Iraq as well, two different worlds as well. So it was it's a two, plus it was a dictatorship country as well. So living in a dictatorship country and in a refugee camp, it's just two different worlds. And compare Ireland, three different worlds. And so everything fairly much different.
Three different worlds.
And especially we're Kurds and Kurdistan, that's where we're originally from. So it's 4 different worlds.
So 4 different worlds with 4 very different experiences.
Yeah.
As you reflect back on that, in those earlier years, is there a certain memory that sticks out? Maybe your first memory of what life was like in that camp?
The first memory is, I was very surprised that when there were so many of us, you could have about 20, 30 kids be playing football in our bare feet and running around, and there would have been no antisocial behaviours or anything like that, and people wouldn't have had really money, you know. It was a struggle in everyday life for everybody. But so it was just so different. When I'm trying to compare having 30 lads, if the 30 lads were hang around together here, just say example, put 30 lads hang around the park every day, or more likely they'd be antisocial behaviour and acting a maggot. But so I'm trying to compare, you know, it was just two different ways we were brought up. We were very disciplined. Even we weren't educated. So it was kind of, when you're trying to compare that here, you could be very educated. You could go to get the best and you could have antisocial behaviour. And you could be educated, but over there, I don't know, maybe it was a dictatorship country, we were all afraid, where there was no, would have never heard anyone robbing, or would never heard anyone, you know, getting killed, or just that refugee camp, there was 5,000-6,000 people. Before that was a lot bigger. But there would be no crime. I don't know, maybe everybody knew each other.
Sense of community there, wasn't it? Sense of connection.
Yeah, a lot of,
all in it together.
Well, maybe we all had nothing.
Yeah. Nothing to rob then.
Yeah. And everybody kind of looked out for each other. The only time you would have had a bit of a row or something when you were playing a bit of football, like any soccer match here, it is.
Do you reflect back and see those years as happy and joyful, or do you reflect back and see those years as being incredibly turbulent and painful and grief-stricken?
No, well, this is the thing. A lot of people there'd be a lot of people would have spent a lot of time in a refugee camp over there. There are in Ireland. I mean, there's hundreds of them. Same with a lot of relations, and everybody says we'd love to all just go back 23 years ago. I go back to that life we have one day. Could we be able to live that lifestyle again? Could we put ourselves? It's I say it'd be tough. I just don't think.
But there's a certain fantasy around that in terms of believing that there was a lot more peace in that war-stricken country and zone. There was a certain peace there as well.
There would have been a lot of, obviously, the government, the Iraqi regime would have killed a lot of people over the years, obviously, since Saddam Hussein got in power. Obviously, the Kurdish people, our people obviously suffered under him. But there was other people in Iraq as well, from the Shia minority. They suffered as well from the south. But at the same time, it's very hard to try to explain because it's very complicated. Like you have the refugee camp, then you had a dictatorship in power, and then it's just like Iraq is like 4 different countries when you look at it as well, But it is a very multicultural society over there as well. So where you have Christians, you have Arabs, you have Kurds, you have Shia Muslims, Sunni Muslim, you have Yazidis, you have Zoroastrianism. Then you have, a couple of Jewish families still in Kurdistan. Then, and then it's similar with Kurdistan of Iran, where we're from as well. It's very multicultural as well. We have a lot of different religion. A lot of people speak different languages, different dialects. So, but people all got on.
This is all within the camp itself.
Well, even within the camp, you had Kurdish Shias, Kurdish Sunnis, we have Yarasani religion, different religion, and we all spoke the same language. But we all got on, everybody was united.
The religion didn't create conflict?
No, the religion didn't create conflict. And obviously politics has destroyed religion, I think. I think it's politicians try to get elected using religion as well. And I've seen that over the years, and has changed. People back then, when they were becoming, then we have people, create politicians, create countries, use religion. And that's where I think it's the whole mess now. They're getting religion involved in everything, which back in the day, 60, 70 years ago, people got on. Religion wasn't an issue. It was kind of dictatorship and monarchy. They were the issues. But now they're after dragging religion into everything. Everything is, it's, I think the Middle East is a bit of a mess because of religion. Then ethnicity comes into power then. So, yeah,
it's all muddled up in the same mud.
It's much. All, yeah. It's very complicated. It's very hard. But the Middle East was always very, like Iraq, Iran, like Syria. There was always multiculturalism. People had no issue. Sometimes people will tell you multiculturalism is bad and this and doesn't work out. But that's not true. I know. Probably Ireland was always a Catholic and Protestant country back in the day, but if you look at Iran and Kurdistan, just 40 different religions, 40 different ethnicity, different languages. People all got on.
Okay. What were some of the hardships that you experienced in that camp? Because we speak about the connection and the lack of crime and the respect that people had for each other, but what were some of the greatest hardships that you experienced or that you remember from those days?
I'd say the hardship was when you got out of a refugee camp, you knew you weren't from there. But sometimes when you're in the refugee, everything was normal because you're born. You're part of that system. You didn't know any different. But as you got older, you kind of got a bit of common sense. When you left the refugee camps, you knew we were different. Even the clothes, Kurdish clothes, people were different. And when we left the refugee camp, we're surrounded, like just say, we're in an Arab city where they all dressed differently, spoke in Arabic.
This is now when you're actually leaving the camp for the first time,
Yeah.
and this is when you really began to.
Well, I kind of
understand the
got it as I
differences.
got it literally going about 10, 11 then when when I started kind of leaving the refugee camp, my dad used to drive a big tanker, he was an oil delivery man, and he used to always bring me everywhere kind of, and I used to see a bit of Iraq then that way.
So you could get out.
You could get out,
Yeah.
see a bit more. So it was,
You were sort of cast as the others, as such, outsiders.
outsiders, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we would have been, yeah. So like obviously most Arab Iraqis would have knew that we weren't from there. Well, we were different, because our accent would be, even if you tried to speak in Arabic, your accent would have been different. They know we are.
Did you get some pushback or prejudice because of your background when other people?
Oh yeah,
identified?
you would have been treated as a second class citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What that look like?
Like in everywhere you would have been, because obviously the Saddam Hussein regime hated Kurds and wanted to, and the reason we were kind of treated all right, there wasn't much hassle because of the UN, the United Nations, obviously keeping an eye on. But it's like the real racism is over there. It's in the Middle East, where that's where the real racism is. I always say.
This where then that's what you experienced.
Yeah, like because you're treated differently. Imagine spending 20 years, your family spend 20 years in a refugee camp, and they never made you feel a part of that country. And
then you step into the country, and then
you obviously step into a democratic country, and you see just the two different worlds, and that's why them type of countries will never probably be successful, because they treat different people from different nationalities differently, unless you're from their country. But then things have changed now since 2003. There's power sharing in the Iraqi government now since 2003. It's a bit different. Things have changed and calmed down. But at the same time, people sometimes now I see on TV bring back Saddam Hussein, and you're like, oh God, bring back Saddam Hussein. Because when Saddam was in power, you couldn't say a word about him. Now people have power. There's a bit of democracy over there, and now people speak up against the government and all. They can say what they want, like they're in Ireland. And now they're like, bring back Saddam. Saddam gave us this, gave us that. You're like, no, it's just the way. Their brain is so being brainwashed for that 30, 40 years under Saddam. It's very hard to take it out of them.
So after 11 years, 10, 11 years?
11 years, yeah.
In this camp, you finally left. What did those first few steps look like?
Like obviously we were excited to get out of there and just go to another country.
Even though that this was somewhere that you felt a part of, there was a community, a connection, a sense of belonging, but still excited to leave this place.
It was exciting, yeah. We were all excited, but it was very emotional as well. It was very sad because sometimes when you left, you were never going to meet some of these people again. And some I've never met again. It's because of a lot of the relation that went to Canada, Sweden, Norway. They were all different countries. I've seen some.
Your own family?
No, I have my own family, but distant cousins.
Yeah, cousins.
Related cousins and that, yeah. I would have.
First cousins? Or?
Yeah, bit of both, yeah. First cousins, second cousins, yeah. Bit of both, yeah. And lads that I used to be, just friends.
Good friends with, yeah.
And never seen them again, Sometimes I see them on social media where now these days it's easier to talk.
Yeah.
But they were probably the sad part. And then, but it had a happy ending,
Yeah.
But everybody kind of got out of there now. So that refugee camp is gone. So there's, after the 2003, a lot of them ended up in Kurdistan of Iraq as a refugee. And imagine if you're a Kurd, you end up as a refugee in your own country. It's you couldn't make it up. So the struggle still goes on for Kurdish identity. We're everywhere like the Irish. Like most Irish people will go any country they go, they always open the pub Kurdish people, we always open a kebab shop or a barber.
Yeah.
So we're everywhere, even in Ireland. There's nearly a barber, a Kurdish kebab shop everywhere.
Yeah. My own barber's Kurdish. Yeah.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sam there. Good man. Yeah.
So
Came from a similar background as yourself. So
yeah. So
but
So
it wasn't a clean, clear process though of simply leaving this camp and then
yeah. No.
landing in
Some
Leitrim.
people be on a waiting list for 16 years, 10 years, 8 years.
Oh wow, that long.
That long, yeah.
What was it like for you? What was the process there?
Well, see, I would have been a lot. I think it was would have been since I think it was about 10 years or something like that. Yeah.
You were on a waiting list for 10 years?
I think so about that,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but it wasn't so it wasn't an easy process. You'd be waiting on a list, then you have to go for interviews, and there's a lot of work involved behind the scene, you know. It's not just like, you know, some people think we just got on a boat and we just, you know, like that time in Iraq, if you tried to get out of there, if you got arrested, forget about it. They would have done you for us being a spy or something, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. People always thought back then, before 2003, when Saddam was in power, it was everybody was controlled. Everybody was terrified to say a word of where you're going, or because there was checkpoints. So I remember there was checkpoints on the road. Police stations were always on the road. So there could have been a checkpoint every 20 minutes or every half an hour. But
were there people that tried to escape that camp during your time there?
There was people that escaped, but if anybody ever escaped, no one would have knew about it. Some people wouldn't even told their own brothers.
Okay.
So yeah, so there were people, yes.
Just be gone, and
you never heard,
never heard again.
Never heard again, yeah. So there was kind of things like that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, but there was times as well where people used to go into the rural part of Iraq. They used to call it Jazeera, and they'd be going selling stuff in that, and they'd be never seen again. They would have got killed, robbed. So there was that kind of thing as well. So
directly outside the camp, there was this war going on as well.
Well, that you would have had the yes, but you had the Iraq-Iran war going on then. This is before I was born in '91.
Okay,
but there was the 8-year war between Iraq and Iran. I reckon 2 million people died in that, you know. But neither Iraq or Iranian government will tell you how many people died, because they both said we won the war. And there was no winners anyway. They were both losing. They were both losers, in my opinion. There's no winners in such a war like that when you have two neighbours fighting. And they eventually made peace. And look, when you look at it 40 years later, the two countries have the best relationship. So it's I keep saying, you know, when you live next door, if you don't have a good relation with your next door neighbour, forget about it. If you're fighting with your next door neighbour, you're never going to have a good life, you know.
The release from the camp. So from the release to, let's say, the next couple of days afterwards, what was the process there? So you're taken from the camp, and then what happens?
So everything be organised behind the scene with the UN, the Refugee Resettlement Programme. So they'd sort out everything. You go for your photos to try to, like, we didn't have passports or anything like that. So our passport would have been a big massive A4 pages, you know, with our date of birth and pictures and where we were born. So that was our passport. So, but obviously then we get on a bus then with the UN, travel to Jordan. We stayed there for 2 nights in Oman, and then from there to Frankfurt in Germany. And all I remember on the plane, then waking up in Ireland. And
so you were in Ireland within a matter of days?
3-4 days, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And then, but everything, a lot of work is done behind the scenes. So
you're just following orders or the process?
Yeah, you're just following orders in the process.
You're being directed by your parents at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and they're being directed by somebody else, you know. So it's.
Do you have many brothers and sisters?
I have 8 brothers and 2 sisters.
And they all came with you? They
all came with us, yeah.
And all here in Ireland?
All here in Ireland, except one brother in Sweden.
Okay. Wow.
He went over in recession time, so
that's some feat, taking that massive family from
Yeah, no TV back then. I don't think didn't have TVs back in the day, you know. So
had the pastime somehow, yeah, such as it was in Ireland as well back in the day. But so you arrive in Dublin.
Arrived in Dublin, then on the way down to Carrigan-Shannon on the bus. And then life begins in Leitrim. That's what the name of the book is.
Of course.
And
so this was a huge cultural change for you.
Yeah, everything was different. Whole huge culture shock. The weather, everything was different. Even when we arrived, it was 4th of July. It was lashing rain in here, windy, you know. And after leaving in Iraq, it was like 40 degrees. Too completely. And we thought we were actually cold when we got here. You wouldn't believe it. It was because we weren't used to this. There's different types of warm weather in different countries, you know, different types of heat.
Yeah. Don't do heat in this country,
yeah.
So then you arrive in Leitrim, of all places.
Of all places.
Lovely Leitrim.
Yeah. Never heard of Leitrim, never mind.
Yeah.
Ireland. Never heard of Ireland, never mind Leitrim.
It's, Leitrim's a lovely place, but it's barren country.
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Like your first experience of Leitrim? Coming from this other country, different people, different language. Different climate.
Yeah, everything was different. But look, thankfully, my eldest brother, they spoke good English. So,
was the excitement still there during this period?
Light excitement, and obviously we shattered for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, within another month or two, you're starting school, then you have to go to school, and that's where you're nervous, and obviously you don't speak the language. But I made friends quicker, obviously, down the road with next door neighbour. They all had kids, so we used to just play soccer every day, football every day, and then start school was obviously a lot easier than getting involved in sports. Probably helped a lot.
Yeah, the new connections that
new
were
connections,
then forged.
Yeah, and then so sports kind of probably made more friends through sports, and sometimes a lot of lads, like in this country, I've noticed a lot of people actually make friends through sports, through GA. You know, and when you look at it, some people would like if you go into a GA club or any club around a lot of people are friends because of through sports. You know, and that's it just shows what sports does and the GA does. You know, brings people together. Yeah,
the sort of connections that you lost.
Yeah,
in the camp. As you mentioned, the 30 lads playing football.
And that was the connection with the ball, brought us together.
Yeah.
Brought 30 odd of us together.
And you're probably pretty decent at kicking a ball, seeing as you were doing it probably every day with the 30 lads in the camp. So you get immediate respect if you can play decent ball, especially in Leitrim, yeah.
It's it was kind of just different, obviously, playing on hard ground and stones and you glass under your feet. And I still have a scar on me under me feet from it. It's just different, you know.
Yeah.
It was even, I remember they used to have like a soccer tournament in the camp between different tribes, different families.
Yeah.
And then you could get 2,000-3,000 people watching the game, and they'd be playing on hard ground. They'd be full of little stones, you know, and you're like, jeez.
Yeah, okay.
Even I even mentioned the book. There's pictures, old photos. We have me brothers playing, so the cousins playing against different teams, and you just like look back and how the hell did you play on that hard ground?
But you took.
I give out now playing on Astro, but I played.
Yeah. You took that love with you though from the camp to Leitrim. I mean, sport was obviously a huge part of your life and became a huge part of your life in Ireland here as well, obviously.
Sport is it is like I just love sports. I'd watch really any sports, but I kind of like GA is might be my sport, obviously, you know. But doesn't matter what level GA standard is, if it's junior G or F or what level. I just
love to be part of it, and
I love just watching.
Connected to
it. I'm just so much connected. It's probably like it's like a religion to me, you know. So
sense of belonging as well, isn't it?
Senses, yeah. As they always say, what's the quote he used? Where we all belong.
Yeah. That's very real for you, yeah, because you were taken from somewhere that you felt you belonged, and then
Yeah.
you're in this strange country now where you want to belong,
Yeah.
and
it's,
sport sort of brings that together for you. It sort of reconnects you to new humans, new people, new community.
Yeah, and that's it as well. As you see, like anywhere in the world, you know, you always notice that sports brings people together, and any sport you see around the world, like sometimes you might have 80,000 people in the stadium, and you look how much everybody's just concentrating on that ball running up and down. But if you brought the same 80,000 people out of that stadium, put them on the streets, you need security, you need guards, you need police, you need. But it's just mad what sports does.
Yeah, of course. Almost in a stadium like that, we're all together and celebrating the one team, but then take it out of the stadium and we're all enemies again. Yeah,
it's just mad, because then if you bring the same 80,000 people out of that stadium, you know, build a new state. First thing, they want the police station, they want the GP, they want CCTV footage, they want cameras on their house, they want to know how far a hospital, or how far, you know, they just it's mad when you put that same 80,000 people in a stadium in Croke Park. They're all watching
none of
that
that
ball.
matters. Yeah.
So it just shows what sports does, you know.
Yeah, that connection is really what matters. Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember even the Golf Cup was on in Iraq, and the whole of Iraq, it was all about Iraqi national team, and the whole country quieting down, you know, and they were playing against Saudi Arabia, 70,000 people in the stadium in Basra, and it was just the whole country, it was all about soccer. There was no crime, you didn't hear anything. But that's just what sport does, you know.
Amazing,
just millions of people pouring on the street, you know, watching matches, even today in Iraq or Kurdistan, where there's, if you see soccer matches and all, there'll be just thousands of people on they show a big screen, you know, they'll have a row over Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so
bit of banter.
A bit of banter, yeah.
Did you receive any pushback when you arrived in Ireland, in terms of you coming to this country and obviously very different from everyone else, and often when we're in situations where we're very different, we can be attacked for our differences? Did you experience?
No, just the language was the difference, the barrier. The language was probably the big barrier for me, kind of trying to learn.
How'd you manage that in those
my
earlier
parents
years?
used to just say, learn one word a day, you'd be flying by the end of the year. And that's what I do. Try to learn one word of English a day.
Yeah.
And obviously playing sports helped as well, because you're hanging around all the Irish lads and they're all speaking English, and it's, you know, so it's...
so everyone was quite welcoming?
They were all very welcoming people, yeah. And we never had any issues.
That's the Leitrim ones for you?
Yeah. That's why it's called Lovely Leitrim.
Lovely Leitrim with lovely people, yeah. Because I've heard different stories from other people who were, as I mentioned, came from a similar situation as yourself, and they received a lot of pushback, a lot of hate, and a lot of anger and aggression. Yeah. And I think that's something that's actually quite unique, and certainly puts Leitrim in a good light.
Yeah, look, I always say everyone has a story, and everyone has different stories, you know. So everyone is brought up in a different way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own issues. Everyone has their own problems, and obviously there's a refugee crisis out there in this world. There's just too many wars going on, and now because social media is very big, everybody's on, and everybody, if their economy is going very bad, if there's some lack of housing, they'll always blame the poor immigrant, the poor refugee. So they're just an easy target because they can't defend themselves. That's where the main issue is.
What's that stir up on you when the refugees attacked?
I think the whole country knows, is, you know, it's just I think the whole country was kind of just annoyed. Like, you could see the whole country when they see that in town, even the one in town, that kind of showed what happened in town. Everybody was like,
which instance is this now?
Remember they burned down the Lewis and they're
when they went
attacking the
when they went on
guards
this
and-
riot.
Yeah. But a lot of people they get a lot of misinformation as well, you know.
So they're painting everyone with the same brush based on the behavior of one individual.
That's the way it is, yeah. And if you have what you call it, it's like if a foreign national does something, he will get the biggest headline. But people keep sharing it. But obviously, you got to do with education as well. And then, if you're in the courts every day in town, just you'll have full of criminals every day going around with 100 previous convictions, and they're doing all sorts. Well, no one even cares about them, but sometimes people would pick out that one foreigner out of that 100.
Mm.
Such and such should be deported, should be this, should be, you get all, but then...
And then nearly throws everyone else under the bus.
And nearly kind of, throw, like, imagine if that was in Spain, an Irish person does something over there.
Yeah.
Would the Spanish people be like, send them all home, send all the Irish here home from Spain, or if they've done something because one individual does something,
Mm-hmm.
do you think they'll, paint every other, I think that's where kind of one of the big issues is at the minute in Ireland. So
where do you think that comes from? Where do you think that issue stems from? Because Ireland has always...
No, like I always say, Ireland, 99% of the population are very welcoming people, The country they're welcoming people, and the country is a cold country.
But there is...
the people are warm.
There is something that simmers beneath the surface, though, that few are willing to talk about, such as...
Yeah, there's a problem. Look, we all know there's a housing crisis. There is that. And if you're going to have refugees coming, then they're not taking your house. It's not the refugee taking your house. They're only being put into community centres where places are being shut down over the years.
Yeah. They have no control over that.
They have no control. And sometimes people have to realise in this country, we have to follow rules and law. We're part of the European Union. It's not North Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Even, it's not North Korea. Like, we're not in a dictatorship country. There, unless you want to turn like North Korea, because only the working class people, we're the only one that suffers.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what way we go about it, we're the one that suffer. Do you want tougher laws? We'll suffer. It's the working class will suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So you want democracy? We can all live on the same page. So so people have to, because democracy and freedom you only get once. And in 1979, Iran had a revolution. They want to overthrow the monarchy. And up to the 1970s, Iran was the top 3 destination in the world for tourism. And you look at it now, probably in the bottom 1,000.
Wow.
So you have to be careful what you choose.
This is 1979 is when that began to flip.
Yeah. You have to be careful. Do you want a tough leader in charge? Because you commit one crime, you'll never be seen again, or you commit something small.
Mm.
So you have to, do you want democracy, or do you want the same political party, same president for 30 years ruling you? Do you want the Russian style? Do you want a Putin 40 years and 30 years in power, ruling with an iron fist? So you have to be careful. Do you want the North Korea? Do you want democracy, or do you want a communist China? Or do you want a Saudi Arabian rule where you can never protest, or you can never have,
freedom to speak, or
freedom
free speech.
Yeah. Freedom to speech. But I always say democracy, you only get one chance of it. And if you mess it up, it's gone. It might take another 100 years. What did I say? America took 200 years for America to get democracy.
It's a long time.
Yeah,
A lot of damage done in
a
between.
lot of damage. And sometimes you look at the countries like Iraq, they're working on democracy. It won't happen overnight. It might take them 100 years. The people would love to have the same freedom as the West. And sometimes freedom doesn't work in every country, so
Do you feel that Ireland is slipping down that path? We've got this hate speech laws coming in now. I think that's like a turning point towards, we'd mentioned there, freedom to speak, freedom of speech.
But it depends. But then you can't have people on social media making misinformation all the time.
True. There has to be a line.
There has to be a line.
Who determines the line, though?
It's weird. This is the thing. Where do
you draw the line?
Where do you draw the line? This is where the problem is sometimes some people want to get elected. When they're anti-immigrant, they get elected. I don't like even mentioning names. They get elected because they're anti-immigrants. But the people that vote for them as well, a lot of it really are not educated.
It's a lot of racism.
Yeah, it's got to do with that as well, racism. But sometimes I always say you need to, if you're going to get elected for being racist, but people need to ask, what have you done for your area?
People fail to see the bigger picture here as well.
Yeah, so it's
as I've mentioned, that one hate speech law could become something more.
It can become more, but it's the same small minority might ruin it for everybody. I don't know. People ask me, what do you think of this? I said, I don't know, but there has to be a limit. I said, there's a lot of people out there making false accusations, all the time, recording people for no reason, and I see it, I know a lot of guards, and they'd be telling me sometimes you just get people making up misinformation or some fun. Oh, groped this young boy, or he was trying to grab. Like in Ireland, you wouldn't really get away with that. Like there's cameras everywhere in Dublin City, so they need, if you're going to make up false accusation,
Is that hate speech though?
Well, they have to find a certain way of. I don't know.
That is.
It's
like what is hate? Like what?
Yeah,
define hate.
Define hate. Yeah, but you can't have Tommy Robinson making false accusation the whole time.
Yeah,
and then if you're like looking at, hello, Tommy Robinson, but your country has destroyed the world. So if you're talking about our country, your country killed thousands of our people back in the late 1930s. Right? I mean, we don't have a country because of your country. You've killed hundreds of thousands of our Kurdish people, to made our people into refugees. And now you're talking about immigrants going into your country, refugees. So you need to have a look at bigger picture yourself and your country, what your country has done to, terrorize our country.
Who are you referring to here exactly?
Well, I'm just referring to one example as Tommy Robinson in England.
Oh, Tommy Robinson. Okay. He fucked things up.
Yeah, but I'm saying he's on about, all my country, all these immigrant refugees coming over, destroying our country in England, Great Britain. Yes, Great Britain. You destroyed my country. We're from Kurdistan. You's come in and rob all our oils back in the day because we had a lot of oil fields. Yous are the one who came to Kurdistan. Yous bombed us because we didn't agree to a creation of Iraq. We didn't want to live under colonization. So he doesn't look at that. They need to have a look at their own history first before they start, criticizing other countries.
Before it starts repeating itself.
Yeah. So because the refugee crisis, we didn't start it. It started from up the top here.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's very complicated world we live in. It's
Yeah, but it's important to know because a lot of us hide under a rock
Yeah, that's
and we refuse to acknowledge the dangers and the
yeah,
slippery slopes.
yeah. It's messy. It's it's obviously like it's very hard for Ireland government to give out about refugees. It's just because and all these people, politicians, a lot of them are educated as well. And people are saying, oh, people say Sinn Féin betrayed or Fianna Fáil betrayed the people. Like I'm like, what are you talking about? We're part of the European Union. We have to follow rules and laws. We're in a democracy. And since Ireland joined the EU, look at Ireland. And when people say, look at what Ireland was like before the EU, when they were, there's a lot of poverty. It's difficult. It's very, at the minute, the world it's a mess with all the wars that's going on. And obviously, inflation and everything with the Ukraine-Russian war, because of the gas prices, and everything just. There's just too many wars going on. It's just, you have that conflict. You have the Kurdish and Turkish issue. You have Kurds and the Syrian government issue. You have Israel, Palestine. You have Sudan. There's 20 million are starving, or hundreds dying every day, and no one talking about that. So it's the world at the minute. It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
it's very messy. It's all over power, oil, land. Yeah, it's
what does it bring up in you? See, as you've come from a place like that in your own life, and now you can see it sort of playing out in different ways in other countries. Like, what does it bring up? Does it bring up anger? Does it bring up sadness? Does it bring up a sense of purpose?
It brings up sadness, and there's a massive double standard in this world. There's a massive double standard. Even in this country. The Irish government would criticize Israel all the time, expel Israel. And I've said to a lot of politicians here, I said, if you can just please once criticize Turkey, stop bombing Kurdistan. They have bombed the Kurds in Syria 1,100 times this week. 400,000 people are without electricity, buying electricity infrastructure, right? Oil fields. He says, we turn a blind eye because it doesn't suit your political agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't. So I'm like, we treat them differently. And it's mess. It's like Pakistani government decides to deport 1 million Afghans back to Afghanistan, right? And most Muslim country, I didn't hear a word about them. So I'm like, they're just kind of, the world is just a mess. You know, you have people there, and there's just so much going on in different countries.
They'll just feed you what they need in order for them to maintain a level of control over the people.
So there's a massive double standard. Like you look at Erdogan of Turkey, he's trying to lecture Israel, but he needs to lecture himself what he has done to the Kurdish people. It was 2013, city in Mardin, 500,000 people were forced out of their homes. And I even went to a refugee camp in Kurdistan of Iraq last year. I asked these Kurds, where are they from? He said, our homes are taken. Turkey bombed their homes. And they're bringing in settlers. And they're bringing in Palestinian refugees into our own areas. But now, what Turkey are after doing, turning the Kurdish people and the Palestinians against each other. Because it suits their political agenda. Mm. But behind the scene, Israel and Turkey has the best relationship in the world. And they're both Muslim countries. Turkey is a Muslim country and they're Jew. Yeah. But on TV, Turkey would say, Israel, you're great genocide, you're Netanyahu, you're a terrorist, you're this. But behind the scene, Turkey imports $6-7 billion all the oil, everything comes from Turkey. They give it to them. Azerbaijan is another Muslim country. There, so it's politics is.
How do you see all this playing out? Because you seem to be well invested in the goings on of the world and wars and government manipulation. Where do you see all this heading for this country, for Europe, for the Kurdish people?
I don't know, because our people seem to suffer anyway in general over there, where there's war or no war. In the Middle East, there seems to be where
does it bring a sense of anxiety or worry to your life?
There's no because everybody in the Middle East is treated differently. So sometimes people say, "Oh, America are causing too much this and that," but when America pulls out, or the Middle East, when they pull out, then you have the Russians going in. America pulled out 2008. They all went back. Then the civil war in Syria started. Then the Russians come in. Then you have the people that are in exile are saying, "America, please help us." Yeah, it's like Iraq 2000. For 20 years, the Iraqis, the people that are in power in the parliament of Iraq, they were all in exile because of Saddam Hussein. The Kurdish leaders as well. They were asking America and the Brits, "Please help us." The French, "Help us. We need to bring democracy." And people wanted that, wanted to get rid of it. So they did. They done that. And now the same people in the Iraqi parliament, "Oh, that's it, America. We don't want your soldiers here. Move out." And then when they went out, they left, and ISIS came. "America, please help us again." So it's just a total mess. It's my opinion is, in this world, we all need each other, because if we even look at the clothes we wear, the watch or anything, the gel, everything just comes from a different country. Yeah.
It's all connected. We're all connected.
We're all connected, and I don't know where it stops. It's sometimes it's terrible what's happening in Gaza, and it's sometimes it's okay. Hamas done that completely out of order. You can't do that. That's what terrorists do. That's a genocide. On October the 7th. But then what the Israelis done is a genocide as well. So there's both committed genocide. So it's because this says in the UN Charter, if any civilians get killed, it's a genocide.
Mm-hmm.
So both civilians. So it's messy, So, but because if you Russia got away with it with Ukraine. They went in, invaded a sovereign country. It's Ukraine. It doesn't matter. You can't just go in and bomb the shit out of another country. Sorry for my language. And say, "Oh, we're trying to protect the Russian minority." All this kind of bollocksology. You just can't do that. I think there's a diplomatic way of doing things. And then when they got away with it, and then before Assad got away with it, Assad of Syria killed 500,000 of his own people. His dad killed 20,000 people in the late 80s. 20,000 city calls homes. Right. He got away with it. And then he was coming to other countries. They're putting out the red carpet for him. Assad goes to Russia. They roll out the red carpet. And he kills 500,000. So at the same time, when he does that, Saddam Hussein was the same. He kills, nearly 300,000, 400,000 Kurds and Shia Arabs and different ethnicity, genocide, ethnic cleansing. Then when he was there, he was going to countries like Jordan and certain countries. They're pulling out the red carpet for him. So at the same time, it's like they're all getting away with it. Do you know what I mean? So, you look at Putin in the BRICS, 20 different leaders around the world, leaders all around the world. You just think they're all shaking hands with him, having meals, talking away, and the people are saying, how could you say Putin? Putin is doing the same. He's getting away with it. Netanyahu's going to get away with it. Erdogan's got away with it with the Kurdish people, displacing 500,000 Kurds and still killing Kurdish people every single day. He's going to get away with it. So Everyone's getting away with it.
Yeah, there's an underlying current beneath all of this that's
Yeah. So if you
keeping
let
it
one,
going.
yeah, if you let one, like I think when Assad got away with it in Syria, then everyone's getting away with it.
Mm.
That's where the big, that's where the big mess is. Once you let one person away, and next fella will take a bit of advantage. If he gets away, and then gets away, and that's it. They'll all do it, and they'll all get away. And that's my opinion. Why Netanyahu in Israel? He's fighting for his own political. Well, he'll probably end up in jail in his own country for so. So they get away, So if he gets away, he got away. Erdogan gets away. Putin gets away. Assad gets away. Hosni Mubarak in Egypt got away. And then
that's like again where you draw the line, isn't it?
Yeah. So where do we draw the line? So even in Ireland, okay, fair enough. I agree with you. Let's expel the Israeli ambassador. 1,000,000% agree with you. But right, I'm gonna say it to all the Irish politicians. Can we do the same for the Turkish ambassador? Expel him as well because they have blood on their hands. How many Kurds have died, in the last 30 years? Hundreds of thousands of Kurdish people in prison in Turkey. And there's a Kurdish person gets killed every day in Turkey. Kurdish Syrians are getting bombed every single day, right? So are they not committing the same genocide as Israel? No, if you call it genocide. So they should be expelled. Let's go. Let's start doing it. Very soon we know Ireland will have no friends and there'll be no more. So if we're neutral, maybe sometimes I don't agree expelling ambassadors because look at North Korea. They don't have embassies anywhere in the world really. So your man would slaughter his own people. He'll rule, with an iron fist and he'll get away because there's no way of talking to him. So he just gets away. There's no, you won't have any TV news going into that country or any journalists because you don't know what's happening in there. Everybody knows he kills his own people just for fun. Anyone criticizes Kim Jong-un or that dynasty of family. Mm-hmm. So where does this, my opinion is you're better off having them here. You can talk to them if you have them here because in the end of the day, things will only stop. You can criticize them. Let them know. Criticize them. I agree. But when you criticize them, but you have to treat them all the same.
Yeah.
We can't, if we're going to...
There's the democracy again, the equality. Yeah.
This is where the big issue is in the world. We pick and choose who we want to side with.
That's what's going back to what I mentioned earlier about the potential of Ireland slipping down that same slope of dictatorship.
Well, I wouldn't say dictatorship. It's completely...
Well, dictatorship is probably extreme, but taking rights away from people.
I don't know. It's tough. It's where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Do we let people away the way to get away from? I don't know. It's I'm probably the wrong man to ask. But
you're
I don't know.
Doing a pretty good job of it here, I have to say. Yeah.
But
you're enlightening me, so you are with all this information. So
so that's the thing. A lot of people say, "What do you like?" Every day, someone say to me, "He's like, what do you think it's Ireland about expelling the Israeli ambassador?" But I'm like, okay, then I'll give you an example, right? You expel the Israeli ambassador, bang, they close their doors, right? Then what's next? What do you do then? Israel, mind your own business. Nothing got to do with you. Mm-hmm. So at least when they're here, you can talk to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Fair enough. I agree with democracy. People can protest, argue about what's happening there, and the government can, Micheál Martin can criticize Israeli government, and that's fair enough. But will you do the same to the Turkish government? Will you criticize the Turkish government? Are we going to keep going back because Turkey under the Ottoman Empire was a colonization of the Arabs, Kurds, Persians back in the day, right? Whatever they gave Ireland, it was everybody that helped Ireland. It wasn't just the Turks. It kind of annoys me. People say Turkey helped. It wasn't Turkey. It was the whole Ottoman Empire was Iraq, Jordan, Palestine, Libya. It was every country there was part of that Ottoman Empire. They were all the one. So there's no point. There wasn't even a Turkish flag. It was the Ottoman Empire was everybody. So, like, don't be afraid to criticize. Forget Irish people have helped the Turks where there's earthquakes there, you know. Like, don't be afraid. We can't just go back to 1800 or 1700. The Turks helped us. We can't criticize them. Don't be afraid. No, criticize. That's a different era. Everybody has helped out each other at some stage. You know, we need, like, if you're going to criticize, you have to be, you know, politics is very messy. Would Irish politicians criticize the Americans? My opinion, Israel, America, it's all the one.
Okay.
So, you know, if you're criticize the big dog, not the small dog, and see how you get on. But then
power.
It's too much power, and they will. And when you do that, then they can hurt the Irish economy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's very, politics is very, it's very messy.
Very messy.
And I always look into politics about the whole Middle East and trying to learn about each country and each different. It's
taken something from it though that you can use, that you have control over. You know, instead of losing control over something you can't control.
That's it as well, you know. It's and at the end of the day, wait till you see, right? Palestine and Gaza, this going on for how long? Like this example, right? It's going on for a year, isn't it? Nearly a year and a bit, right?
Yeah. When
this stops, in the end of the day, they're going to come and sit on a table like this in front and they'll shake hands. All right? They will shake hands because they know the only way they will sort that war and everything out is on the table.
Always.
And then the poor innocent civilians will get caught up in it and will get killed.
Yeah, just for a handshake.
Yeah, and a handshake. They will get on and they will make a deal. And that's it then. And then you're like, what was that all about?
Mm-hmm. Lessons aren't being learned here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, for example, look of Ireland and Britain.
Yeah.
Colonization of Ireland for 800 years and
and that ended up in a handshake. The Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland. And
no, but in general, if you look at Ireland in general, before even that, if there was a bit of trouble in the north, but even with
the colonization,
after that, like you look at Ireland and England, people say, "Oh, Irish people hate the English." I says, "No, you don't. No, you don't. Stop." I said, "Geez, like some people, I'm like, I be in the pub sometimes, and you know, they're all them English, you know, or this and that, they're doing this to us, you know." And I'm like, "But why are you wearing a Manchester United jersey? You fucking idiot, yeah." Sorry for my language.
It's all good. Language is allowed here.
Yeah, and then I'm like,
contradiction.
Yeah, and I'm like you were saying the English. No, I said, listen to me. We've gone to England. We've gone everywhere. Every year we go up there, you know, where there's Liverpool or where there's London, where there's Birmingham. We go over there for a weekend away. You don't give out to me, like, you give out to me what they've done and you're still bringing me over. We're going spending our money over there. So they're not that bad of a people now, you know. Yeah. I said, if you didn't like someone, you wouldn't spend your money in your country.
Yeah, you wouldn't even visit.
I said, would you see me go and spend my money in Turkey? I said, I won't. You probably will, I said.
Yeah.
But I won't because the way they deal with our people.
Yeah.
I would not step into that country if you paid me £1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, it's different. It's all a bit of crack. I said, now you're talking. It's all a bit of crack.
Yeah.
But it just shows people just kind of, you know, sometimes it's good to know about your history as well. But sometimes I like the Irish and the English way.
Yeah.
Better off making relations because you have to get on with your neighbour.
Well, there's a part that you need to let it, there's a point where you need to let it go.
There's a point where you need to go. Because if you keep holding grudges, you'll never get anywhere.
If you keep holding grudges, then they're still winning the war. They still have control over you.
Yeah. And that's what they need. Example, like Palestinians and the Israelis. Like, my opinion is maybe we need to get rid of these, don't like saying it, these old men that are in charge. Like Netanyahu, I don't like calling him an old man. He's still looks sharp and 70 years. He's
old way of thinking though.
Yeah, because he's still brought up of, you know, what the Nazis and what the Germans done to his family and blah blah. And then you have Mahmoud Abbas, the president of Palestine. I think he's 88 or 92 now at this stage. And he kind of keeps going back, talking about 75 years ago that they took my home. So when they're both going on the same, so then when are they going to?
Yeah.
So you need,
Fueled by bitterness.
I think the Israelis need fresh new faces, and the Palestinian need fresh new, you know, let's move on. Like, it's very hard for both of them to move on from the past, because every time I talk to a Palestinian, they're like, oh, the Israelis, they took our land. And I'm like, okay then. But like, I'm saying, like, look at England. They're doing the same thing to Ireland. And look at the relations now. I said, what Britain done to the Irish, I don't think it was done in any other country nearly, you know. I said, they're all speaking English. He said, you're from Palestine. You still speak your language. You can go to school and learn Arabic. You still haven't. I said, I know how the Israelis treat us, and sometimes you're better off just get, you need to just kind of move on with this. I said, you're brought up that way, and now you're going to tell your kid, when your kids are a bit older, if they're brought up to hate Jews, I said, the Jews are going to be hating the Palestinians. So
you're not born with hate.
You're not born with hate when you're teaching them.
Yeah.
It's like in Turkey. Turks are brought up to hate Kurds. And Kurds, in a way, are brought up to hate Turks. So I don't agree with that either. And now Erdogan, the last speak in Turkey, are saying, oh, the Kurds are our brothers or our sisters. We need to get on. And now the Turkish opposition are calling for the man Abdullah Öcalan to be released from prison to call for peace in between the Kurdish guerrilla fighters, Kurdistan Workers' Party, to lay their arms and to lay their arms down. But because Turkey know this colonization and treating Kurdish people, there's 20 million Kurds. 20 million is a lot of people in Turkey. It's a lot. 20 million is 5 times the size of Ireland, even the land. I said, if you can only treat them as second-class citizens for so long, you're just going to have to give in and make peace with them. And my opinion is, like, in Turkey, the Kurds are this, because in the constitution in Turkey, the constitution says Turkey is for Turks. It's not for any other religion, not any other minority. So Kurds, you're not part of this. That's the reality. It's not for Kurds. So Kurdistan was promised a country by Britain and France, but the promise never came true after 1923, the Lausanne Treaty in Switzerland. But eventually, Turkey and Kurds, they will sit. And I can see a man being released. He's in prison for 28 years, and he has 20 million, so 40 million Kurds to support him. So the Turkish government know this is enough, because they call Hamas as a resistant fighters, right? That's fair enough. You can call Hamas. What Hamas done on October the 7th, and I'd be telling, I sometimes have a lot of Kurdish friends, and, I'm like, okay then. So if Hamas does that, you're saying they're resistant fighters. I was saying to a friend of mine from Libya, and in the gym this morning early, and he was like, oh, Hamas are fighting for the Palestinians, fighting for trying to... But I said, do you agree with October 7? I said, I sound like Piers Morgan, I said. Do you condemn? And then he was like, no, I don't, but they're fighting for their land. But I said, they killed innocent civilian Israeli Jews. You can't do that. I said, hold on, Jorge. Okay, I agree with you, Adam. Here's one. See, will you agree with me? Would you agree with the Kurdish guerrilla fighters and just pick up a couple of AK-47s and go into the middle of Turkey, go into Diyarbakir, Kurdish city, and start start shooting loads of Turks? Would you call them a resistant fighter? Oh, that is different. I said, no. This is a problem, my friend. We all in this world, we pick and choose who we want to side with. So why are they resistant fighters, or why are they not resistant fighters? And he just stopped with a shock on my face. It was kind of like, how dare you asking me that question? And I was like, come on, tell me. And he just like wouldn't. I said, if Hamas gets away, does that mean our people in Syria, they kept patient for about 70 years until 2011, the revolution. The Kurds got their own area, their own territory. I said, there's the Kurds in Syria. Do they go up and say, I'm fighting for my land there's some Arabs have took my land. So do they go out and start shooting all them dead? Do you agree with that? No. And then I said, why do you agree with Hamas then? I know, okay, just say Israelis are bad guy. What they're doing, they're out of order. They're basically opened a prison camp. But like, you're siding with this. You agree with that one, but you don't agree. I say, I'm all about dialogue.
Yeah.
But when you know, when you're going to criticize, you have to treat everybody the same. Or now you're picking and choosing.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you're picking and choosing. And I said, my opinion is a lot of the Arab states, there's 23 Arab countries, or 22, 23, 500 million of you. And you have all betrayed the Palestinian people. And they speak the same language as you. He was like, why? We said, if Palestinians go to the United Arab Emirates, if they live there for 40 years, would they give you citizenship? He was like, no. And I said, you discriminate against each other. What do you expect Israelis to do? I said, I found out what discrimination after the October 7 that Jordanians and the Egyptian would not open the doors to let one Palestinian in. And the president of Egypt said it in his speech. And the Egyptian, I said, 50,000 people would have not got killed if you let these people in. I said, even Saddam was the bad guy. He let our family in, even if he was a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're treated as a second-class citizen, but our family didn't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
We still had relations over the war. So when you look at that, the Jordan and the Egyptian government have both blood on their hands. Because when there's conflict and war, you open your doors. You don't close it. If someone's getting attacked with an AK-47 and he's hoping to jump over that wall and you're facing on the other side of an AK-47, you're not. I said, look at the Egyptian government built a massive wall straight across Gaza into Egypt. He said they will not let one people in. And I said, and that's the population of Egypt, 80 million, and they're meant to be Muslims, speak the same language, same culture. I said, no point blaming the Israelis. Keep calling genocide. I'll just say the same. I'll just say the same. But if they would have let these people in, just let them in the middle. Egypt is 10 times the size of Ireland. There's a lot of empty land over there. Just let them live in the place. And that many people have not got killed. Israel were not going to bomb a refugee camp in Egypt, are they? They're like, no. And I said, there you go. But if they let them in, they wouldn't be allowed back in. I'm like, but at least they're not getting killed. So it's very messy, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, and then it's very fucked up, you know. Politics is messy, and in the end of the day, when this stops, the only way, there's no winners between Israel there is no winners. They're both losers because people get killed by both sides. Obviously, there's more Palestinians getting killed. There's more. Gaza is destroyed. I don't know what's left in bleeding Gaza. But if the Israelis didn't have them Iron Dome, Tel Aviv will be like Gaza too. Because Hezbollah, they say themselves, we fired 10,000 rockets. 10,000 rockets, you know. So it's a very complicated world, and there's just innocent people are getting caught up in the whole thing, and they use things that suits their own political agenda, you know, and that's why I'm very surprised with Egypt and Jordan. I know the Israelis are killing them, but not that 50,000 people would have not got killed if they opened their doors, at least children and kids. And whoever is fighting for Hamas, let them at it then.
Yeah.
You know, and then you could
deal with it.
At least, yeah. It's you just don't know who's getting killed in this war. Right? It's very, it's very messy, you know.
Jeez, we spiraled down a path there.
Honestly, our conversation is a bit different to most.
No,
probably.
this is good stuff though. But
Something different is nice sometimes.
yeah, that's again, it's important stuff because I think we all need to acknowledge that, and connection and togetherness is the solution to all of it. I think
It is, yeah.
Because as you say, we're all connected.
And sometimes people say, "Oh, Zach, you sound very pro-Israeli." I said, "No." I said, I'm a Muslim. I'm the same as all them. Speak the same,
Yeah.
I said, I'm not, but I like speaking on both sides where there's
Yeah.
the right and the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I said, have you ever seen me saying, put up anything about Israel? Or, I said, I don't like, because I said, I know what it's like to suffer, or people that suffer racism in the Middle East. I even said people, I said, look, I said, Kurdistan and Turkey have bombed this week. 1,100 times Kurdistan have got bombed. Hundreds of people have died. Not one media talk about it. They're only Kurds. They're at it 100 years. It's the same thing every day, which is people are kind of right. It's the same thing every day, But because we don't value as the same other people as from other countries. So this is where I said, I don't hear anyone saying free Kurdistan. Do you know what I mean? I said, I don't. I said, Kurdistan, we're there thousands of years. I said, we weren't like Iraq, only created 1923. America, Britain and France created them. We said, I didn't create them. Kurdistan was a we're Kurds, Kurdistan, like or Irish or Ireland. I says, we were always there. We were there before Turkey was there. We were there before Iraq was there, Syria were there. We might have lived under the Ottoman Empire, but we had a role back then. But discrimination only started when they created them countries. And where does this? I always say there'll be no peace in the Middle East unless the Kurdish people get their own state, or they're treated as the same as an Arab, or as a Turk, as an Iranian. But relations are getting better. The president of Iraq is a Kurd, so things have changed. President of Iran, for the first time in the history of Iran, is a Kurd. He's from Kurdistan. And he says, at least in Iran, he says, I'm from Kurdistan.
Good.
So, which is, like in Turkey, you cannot mention the word Kurdistan. You'd be in jail. In Syria, you couldn't mention that. But in Iraq, to be fair, the Kurds, you're from the Kurdistan region. Sometimes the Kurds, you're from the north. You're Northern Iraq. No, Kurdistan of Iraq. So it's things is getting better. For
good. Well, look, as I said, I think these are all important topics to talk about, but I also just want to, before I wrap it up, talk about your movie coming up, the documentary that is coming out next year. Home. What can people expect from this movie?
It's a bit of everything. It's probably a bit of everything where I started or where I kind of finished off. Just trying to bring it back an old memories, going back, visiting the refugee camp, see what things have changed or what would it be like. Visiting relations, visiting the memorial site in Halabja where 5,000 people were killed in one day in a chemical attack by Saddam Hussein. And meeting two of the survivors that have nobody left in their families. They don't have any relations. Nobody. Only these two fellas come from two different families. It was very interesting meeting two fellas that have no relations. Nothing left. It's like me and you, we all have both cousins, or even I've lost relations. My dad's parents have loved over the war and everything, but they still have somebody. These two people have nobody. You could nearly call these two people the only two person in the world with no relations, no brothers, no cousins, nothing left. You nearly do a book on them, on each. What's it like having no family left, all your family dying, and your uncles in a chemical attack?
And these are the only two survivors of
the chemical attack.
From the chemical attack, yeah.
Yeah. And
Do they have any repercussions in terms of their own health and well-being?
one of them said he was nearly blind for a week, couldn't see. He was taken to Tehran.
What age was he? What age was it at the time?
He was
when it
only
happened?
about 16 at the time.
Okay.
And he said he was suffering from breathing. Sometimes he still kind of suffers from breathing. But it was just kind of amazing where you meet. Like I said, the only two person probably in the world that have no relations. I know you get people there saying, "Oh, I'm lonely. I don't have any." They have no connection with their family, but the family are still there.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But these two fellas, they have nothing left. They're all dead. Where 5,000 people died in one day, and you meet these, you meet these two people. I don't know how they sleep at night, and because they work in the memorial center as well, so
they're surrounded by it every day.
So every day, they have to tell tourists going in there, and there's one of them. There's a picture of him on the back of the truck, and all the people there are dead. So it's very sad.
Wow. There's a picture of him alive, and everyone else is dead.
Everyone else is dead. Yeah.
In the truck.
Outside his truck, where there's a lot of people there. Just the picture still is on. The picture is still on Google actually. And we went to the memorial. There was the 5,000 names of families, and they could name every single one of them, their relation. That's his dad, his brother, sister, cousin, blah, blah, such and such. It's all on the wall. 5,000 people.
Wow.
And
that's heavy.
Yeah. So that was probably the most emotional thing I've ever experienced in my life. That was the.
And this is in the movie. And the documentary.
This is in the documentary, yeah. And kind of showed it'd be a lot about the refugee crisis, what refugees go through, and about our country, Kurdistan, as well.
Brilliant.
And it's a
bit of history.
Bit of everything. There's a bit of everything in the documentary.
Ireland, Kurdistan. When will we get to see it?
Where we've been shown it. We were showed it at the Galway Film Festival. So we showed it there. Very surprised. Sold out within 3 days. Ticket nearly 170, 163 people. That's all it could hold. It was
brilliant. Fair play.
We showed it in Manor Hamilton there 2 weeks ago. We showed it in Mayo. We're showing it again 17th of January. 17th of January in Leitrim cinema over there.
In the cinema in Carrigan-Shannon?
In Carrigan-Shannon, yeah.
I'll have to make that one, yeah.
Oh, so you're close there.
Yeah, not too far away.
Sligo, yeah. So
17th of January.
Yeah, so we haven't really advertised it just a bit early, kind of.
Okay.
But so just kind of story about, as I said, everyone has a story,
Mm-hmm.
That's my story to tell.
Brilliant. Fair play.
It's probably something different. What other Irish people usually they'd be watching a lot of documentaries from different people in Ireland, but this one is a completely different one.
Yeah. Also gives us a bit of an insight in terms of where you've all come from.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a barber and I would say a friend now who I see on a regular basis, and he's filled me in on a lot of information in terms of where he's come from and how he's came to be. So, but this is information I would not have known only for him. So it's not out there. It's not out there. People are ignorant to your background and to the struggles.
And sometimes it's hard for people because if you try to tell people where you're from and they don't really want to know, the reason they don't want to know because they haven't heard about you.
Yeah.
It
exposes their ignorance.
Yeah, sometimes it's not their fault because they don't know.
Mm.
But if I talk about the Palestinian issue, they know about that. Do you get me? They will talk to you for an hour. But if I try to change a subject for 30 seconds about Kurdistan, and they kind of like have Kurdistan, but they don't know much.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of don't know if they want to get into a debate with you about it.
Yeah.
I even, when we showed it up in Thomas Davis and Tala, and this other fella says to me, he goes, "I'm sorry, Zach." He said, we tried to talk about it. I didn't know much about your country before. I didn't want to really talk about it because I didn't know enough about it. Well, I said, well, you know now. But sometimes I feel like they don't know about it.
Yeah.
But the government in Ireland know about it. These are all politicians, very well educated. They know about it. It just doesn't suit their political agenda.
What's the purpose behind the movie for you? Why put it out there?
Well, obviously, a fella called Declan Ryan. He read me book. He was Tony Ryan's son, founder of Ryanair Airline. So he read the book and he said there's a documentary in this, and he wanted to do it, and he does amazing work with one foundation. He just wanted to help and do something different, and
Brilliant.
he wanted to turn the book into a documentary, a movie. So took a good bit of time. It wasn't easy now doing it.
Well, it's very inspirational too, because
without him and
yeah,
production company, Rockshot, wouldn't it?
fair play.
There's not many people who say, let's go to Kurdistan. Oh, Jesus. And I'm like, listen to me. It's no
okay.
different to Ireland anywhere. That's
fair play.
Yeah.
Zach, thank you so much, man. Brilliant conversation. And I'm privileged and honored to have you here. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie as well in January. I will keep an eye out for tickets. And for everyone who's listening to this podcast, where can they reach out to you? Where can they
they can
get in touch? Where can they grab your book?
Instagram probably is a lot easier.
Yeah, nice to get you.
Yeah.
And your book is
you
available
can
in
get
all
it online
bookstores.
or any Easton's or any of the deals books. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Zach.
No problem at all.